What is happening, people? We have had a number of sort of recurring issues, recurring conversations with you guys, and so I wanted to put together a video to kind of help iron out this issue. So here's the thing. Way too many of us, and I say us collectively as entrepreneurs, but I certainly see it in you guys, right, in the group. Way too many of us are thinking about problems, trying to solve problems that are 3 or 4 issues, 3 or 4 bottlenecks down the line. And so we're solving things sort of in the wrong sequence. And because of that, because we all have limited resources, you know, time, money, energy, attention, focus, etc. Because of that, we are investing resources in areas that just realistically don't need their attention or don't need your attention in your business right now. And it's causing you to grow slower, less effectively, with more headaches, etc., than really you should be or that you deserve to be growing. So here's the deal. At any given time, realistically, you probably have 2 total focuses that you need to have in your business. You have some constants, okay? So there are things that constantly need to be a focus for you in your operation. You might think of things like, you know, customer service, right? E.g., for example, training experience. You might think through training your team, you know, leadership, management, accountability, LMA type stuff. Then you're going to have things that are more, so these are things that are constantly going to be a piece of your business. They should just be part of your schedule that just happen every single day, every single week, etc. Right? You should always be providing great service and always be focusing on how you can improve that. That said, the other stuff is where you guys get way gunked up, because in a lot of cases you guys are letting other stuff take over the focus, not just of the true bottleneck in your business at that point, but also it's taking away attention, taking away resources from the things that you really should be doing constantly anyway. And so what I mean by that is you guys might have that color's not going to work. So we'll just go purple, I guess, for that too. So you guys might have things that you're trying to focus on, and let's say this is $0, right? And this is $100K a month, Jim. Okay, and so the reality is many of you are operating in a state where you're trying to solve like 80K a month or 100K a month type bottlenecks, meaning things that will not be an issue for you and your operation until you get to that stage. The reality is, so we've got a client that literally did not have a website until they hit like 40K a month. So they were literally hitting 40K a month. They're like in here. Okay, and they didn't even have a website. You've got people that don't have an acquisition channel down, right? That are sort of focusing on all these different ridiculous, crazy things. They're trying to get videos done. They're trying to get funnels done. They're trying to do all these different things that are sort of back in, piece of the puzzle. They're nice to haves and not must haves, and they're sitting here at 5, 15, in some cases 20K a month, when like really we just need to get one thing down, and that one thing, getting one thing really good, which is the only thing that these guys did, like that's the only thing they focused on to get to 25, 30, 40K a month. They focused on customer service, training experience, leadership, management, accountability of their team, and then they focus on sales, right? And for them, their channel was Facebook ads, and it was getting really good at sales, really good at their offers, and just focusing on those things. And so if we were gonna break this thing down and say, well, where are your real like crazy bottlenecks gonna be? I'd want 80% of your attention to go, again, like let's assume, if you wanted to break this down really systematically, let's say this stuff is always going to be like 25 to 50% of your attention, I guess. We'll just throw numbers out there if we're being honest. When it's just you doing this, right? When you're in that, 0 to 10K, you haven't hired anybody, any of those things, like, yeah, you are probably going to be focusing more of your time on these things because you're doing all the training, you're doing all the service, you're doing all the, like you haven't hired anybody realistically. And so yeah, you're probably spending 25 to 50% of your time on that. The other like 80 to 90% of your attention when you're in that, let's say 0 to 20K mark, in some cases, like we literally just focused on acquisition from being an idiot in a warehouse gym however many years ago like we literally just focus on Facebook and one funnel, one offer, like one acquisition system, one conversion system, and got to like 30K a month without focusing on literally anything else. Okay, there were no other like crazy projects that had to come up that got us there. And so in reality, and you're like 0 to anywhere probably between 15 and 30K a month, the only thing you should be focusing on realistically is like getting one successful acquisition channel hammered in, locked in, like that is completely end-to-end systematized. You're great at it. You were not worrying about coming up with crazy different offers and this, that, and the other, and new sales process and new projects, or building this funnel or doing these videos, or I'm going to start doing, I'm going to start a YouTube channel, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. Focus on one acquisition channel. Like my favorite personally, because it's more scalable, right? It allows me more time and resources to do these other things, is like paid ads, right? So for you, it might be paid ads. It also, if you want to put more effort, right, and exert resources that are more like time, energy, talent, instead of just money, then yeah, you might focus on organic. If you do organic, you are likely to have a lower ceiling on sort of where you can focus on this. But if you just do organic, if you want to say, well, I'm going to do great content, I'm going to build Facebook groups, I'm going to convert people, I'm going to get do networking out of the community, any of those things, that's awesome, that's fine. Like you're probably just focusing on that and getting that acquisition channel completely dialed in to like somewhere between like 12 and 20K. Again, depending on what you're charging, I'm giving sort of general recommendations. Are absolutely going to be outliers, right? So it might be paid ads, it might be organic. In theory, it could be referrals. It just typically you're not going to scale very far with referrals in today's marketplace because it's just too slow, right? It's a difficult. You got everybody advertising, everybody spending a bunch of money. That makes it tough to sort of gain enough traction to scale and gain market share fast enough. Whereas like if you're putting a ton of effort into organic and you're really, really fucking good at it, then awesome. That might give you a shot. And then paid ads like can be your other piece. You may possibly, depending on how you have the rest of your business structure set up. Let's say you only have to spend a lower amount of time doing customer service or what have you. You may move to 2 acquisition channels when you're kind of in this entry-level phase. But just focusing on acquisition can literally get you to like 30, 35, 40K a month and not really having to focus on anything else. Now, as you want to move into thinking about scaling things out and delegation, etc., well, that might be a new bottleneck. The issue, and again, I go back to this idea of focus. The issue is that it's difficult to do, right? It takes time, it takes energy, it takes talent, it takes your resources in order to figure some of this stuff out. And so if you're saying, oh, I want to scale up our operation, go crazy, like don't focus on scaling up the operation. That by definition is not focus. Focus on scaling out one piece of the operation and getting that on lockdown, right? Whatever is most bottlenecked. And in some cases, in some cases, to be fully transparent, like the bottleneck is owner happiness, right? It's the owner's mindset and sort of headspace. And so, it might not be, hey, what's the most efficient thing? What's the actual like business bottleneck that I need to solve first? It might be, gosh, I hate doing XYZ. I hate doing admin stuff, or I hate sales, or whatever it might be. And like, okay, well, that might move up on the list, because you freeing up your headspace and being in a better headspace, having better energy, being in a better headspace, being happier about what you're doing every day, like, yeah, that might alleviate the business, like that may free up the business to achieve more faster than whatever might be systematically, operationally, I guess, if we were doing order of operations, purple elephants marking down the street, it's like acquisition, and then it's probably delegating like admin, so we're AA, then it's probably delegating out fulfillment, right? And then we're probably delegating out sales. So AFs, maybe that's a good move here, a good way to put it. So it's probably more like AFs. The issue here is that nowhere in here do we see like, oh, like let me focus on like building some crazy video funnel, right? A lot of you guys want to go hide and build like crazy projects or focus on things that just like that are realistically not your bottleneck right now. And what that does is it keeps you stuck, because all you're doing is like, number one, you might not be solving a problem at all, but number two, you might be solving something that's like over here. And so if we picture this, let's get another marker. Okay, so if we picture this, like if we go by the definition of a bottleneck, right? You think of this as a river, okay? So this is a river of progress. And what you're trying to do, what ends up happening is like you get to 0 to 2K just by people you know in your area. You just happen to open and accidentally you end up with $2,000 worth of clients. Awesome. But now you need a way to get new leads, right? And so the first dam that opens, awesome. Now all of a sudden, the water can flow. And maybe the water can flow to the 12 to 20K mark. Maybe it can flow to the 30K mark, whatever it might be. But a lot of you guys are doing things where you've got bottlenecks that like may slightly improve things on this side of the equation because of entrepreneurial ADD, because of fear of being rejected, because of whatever. Like maybe it's just, an incorrect strategy. It might just be bad decision making or suboptimal decision making. You're alleviating things here, but like, there's no flow here. That doesn't realistically improve anything. So if you're still bottlenecked, if this is the thing that's stopping you and you fix this, like nothing matters. Yeah, it might make things more efficient. Let's say you clear up that bottleneck. Awesome. When you finally get around to doing what you need to do and clearing this up, maybe it works really well, but by the time you get there, in a lot of cases, these solutions are outdated. They need to be updated. You end up doing twice the work for no reason when you could just focus on the thing that's actually going to get you where you want to go. So, all that said, if you feel like you're having issues, you're jumping all over the place, you're doing a bunch of different things, like hop on these calls that we're doing every week, book one with me if you need to, and let's talk about what your real bottleneck is and go towards fixing that, because that is going to make your business go from here to here a hell of a lot faster than like jumping around and solving little things on the back end that do nothing for your bottom line, nothing for making your life better, right? More money, more freedom, etc. So that's all I got. Love, hugs. Talk soon.